which means, incidentally, Chanka is Quechua, that's the language of the Inca, for smash, shatter. And Pedro, of course, is rock. And many times you'll find the names of things are quite indicative of their use, but the use has been forgotten. For example, amor seco. Seco means dry, and I doubt that there's anyone who doesn't know what amor means. And that's a contraceptive. But it's only widely known by tribes. About 5 tribes I know use it. I know that the Yucca and the Campa, the Yawa and the Campa, and the Shipibo, the Conibo, and the Piro all use it. So, well, anyway, I managed to get actually I healed the gallbladder with the first medicinal plant I'd ever had, which is Boldo, which is investigated, I think it was about 1920 or 20, by Johns Hopkins, and was put on the market officially. But it doesn't come from the jungle, it comes from Chile. It grows only in Chile, oddly enough. Makes a perfectly delicious tea, and it's great for gallbladder infections. But it doesn't dissolve stones, and the other really does, because my doctor told me that he had some, in the neighborhood of 100, I think it was 93 cases, that he had found it utterly successful in curing. And also, a man came to visit me from Germany. In Germany, they have a far more generous attitude toward medicinal plants. There is great interest that Germans are not known for being bad scientists. They're pretty good at their stuff, especially in pharmacology. But they allow the sale of medicinal plants and the prescription of them very freely. And this man had a store for plant medicines, and he'd come to Peru to get another shipment of Chanca Pedra. He told me that he had it for sale for 1 year. He'd used up all he had, and that he had asked the people who came to and bought it to give him reports on progress and on the final result. And he had 94% reports of perfect cures, and the other 6 were people who never came back to tell him. Now that is a plant that could be grown very easily in the United States. I understand that laser actually takes care of those things very well, but not at the present time. It's still very expensive. This stuff is a weed that grows everywhere very easily, you know it. And just grow it in any sunny, warm place. California would be perfect.
Where would you find seedlings for that? Could you buy those Southern California?
Well, you can't buy it now, but these things, that's the point I'm making, these things must be brought in. They really need to be brought in. And incidentally, the capinuri does the same thing as insira, you know, the tooth one?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that I first learned about from a policeman, a jungle policeman. The police of Peru used to be excellent. Times have changed a bit, I'm afraid, but their jungle police was composed of men who had grown up in that environment, who knew their way around, knew what to do, knew how to track, knew all that. And what's more, they usually took an Indian with them to check their tracking, because nobody can do it like the Indians. And they were going after an escaped murderer when he developed a frightful toothache. And he had a camper tracker with him. And the camper said, "Oh, that's all right, I'll fix it." And he went off and came back about 10 minutes later with a leaf on which he had a little bit of very sticky, gooey yellow-white substance, sap of a tree. And he said, now, and in his hand he had a piece of kapok, which grows in the jungle. And he said, you take a little piece of kapok, cotton is what, because they have no cotton there, didn't have any cotton there. Cotton does grow wild in Peru, but not there. And he dipped it in. He said, now be very careful to put this in the cavity, and don't let it touch another tooth. Because he said it will take the tooth out. And it will not, but if it hits a tooth next to it, a healthy one, it'll take that out too. And so he put it in, and he said the pain stopped immediately. He said it just felt very, very cold. And during the next 30 days, the tooth gradually broke up and came out in little bits. He had no infection, no bleeding, no pain. But the tooth was gone. I had thought originally that this meant the roots went too. They don't, because a dentist from Atlanta, Dr. Hodges, I've forgotten his first name, Ben Hodges, who's a really very good dentist there, came down and he was interested in this, and he did a trip up the rivers examining people who had removed, because lots of the people, the mestizos and Indians know this, and lots of people had teeth out that way. And he examined many that had been done years before. There was never an infection. He couldn't figure out why, because the root's still there. But he found no trouble at all. Now that is a very handy way to get rid of a tooth. I'd much prefer it to a root canal. I tried it. It didn't work. But we had kept the stuff in the refrigerator for a week first. It apparently has to be used fresh. And I should imagine the only way to get it up for testing in the States would be by freezing, flash freezing. That ought, I should think, to bring it up without too much change. Those are two of the more generally popular things, but there are others.
What was the name of that, the sap from the...
It is Chlorophylla tinctoria, Chlorophoria, tinctoria, and it is, I think, a euphorbiaceae. Yeah, I'm fairly sure it is. But you can always find the family if you've got the genus. And then another of the things that urgently needs development now is the treatment for hepatitis. That Dr. Walter Lewis and his wife, Dr. Memory Elvin Lewis, who is a very strong feminist and must be mentioned in all his work, have found that the roots, they have confirmed what is generally known in some populations there, that the roots of certain palm trees, there are two that we know about for sure, will they make an infusion of them, make a tea of it. Actually, they boil them a little while. That's a decoction, not an infusion. And drink the broth. And that will very nicely do away with hepatitis. And Dr. Lewis found it very efficient for hepatitis B as well as the more ordinary and easily treated types. Now that is the root of Euterpe edulis, which is a palm tree, and that is, they have found that the Achuar Indians who were visited by Dr. Lewis were using and getting the same results with, because there's a lot of hepatitis, another palm tree, it's an Iriartia that's called Ponacassia. And